It is Friday, April 24th. JJ here, Bull to the Bus. Thank you for joining in. Today's big news, in my opinion, that's being underreported is homelessness jumps by 20% year over year in some areas. It's happening here in Southern California. We're going to talk about that. The labor force is collapsing. We're going to talk about the labor force participation rate. It actually never did recover since the financial crisis. Also, we're going to talk about the labor force collapses. Now, to be honest, the labor force never recovered after the financial crisis. And when you have manipulated numbers, we're going to talk about how bad it's been, how much worse it is now since the recent unemployment disaster. And speaking of unemployment, people waiting over 30 days and counting to get their unemployment check, and some people not getting any benefits at all. We're going to show you about the devastating gig economy workers who many are not qualifying at all for any unemployment benefits. Complete breakdown of government trying to save us. And we'll top it off here with the current debt. It's impossible to ever repay, and we're going to prove it. Let's get started. Now let's start with a quick market shot here. Dow Jones actually basically even today. Barely budged. It had a big sell-off midday, but it did recover almost to end up flat. S&P and the NASDAQ both up fractionally. Now isn't that interesting? And that should be just another indicator to wake people up and proving how disconnected the stock market is to the real economy. Over the past 5 weeks, we've got 26.5 million newly unemployed people, but yet we're not seeing a crashing stock market. How can that be? And just to be clear on what's happening with the stock market, what they're trying to do, the powers that be, in this case the government combined with the Fed, and they have merged. The Fed has merged with the Treasury. So now it's one big, powerful unit of bad decision making. They are trying to prevent total collapse. So could you imagine with the unemployment numbers that we're seeing, if the stock market was allowed to collapse along with that, you would see even more devastation than you're seeing now. And this is the one bright spot, I guess, for people that have 401ks. It's also a big factor in pensions. Now, many states are in the process of going bankrupt. And as a result, pensions are already likely to be cut drastically. But combine that with the stock market, you see pensions actually are heavily invested also in the stock market. So by keeping this propped up, they're attempting to keep some good data in this financial economic system right now. And who knows, after November of this year, maybe they'll let that collapse too, because then there's no political risk, if you know what we mean. But gold still hanging in there up to 1706. It took a slight drop today, but we're steadily seeing rises in gold. Oil actually recovered here, ending just under $17 per barrel. Remember, we did see that go negative on the futures market. And that's going to lead to oil industry bailouts. So we're going to have the government with unlimited monopoly money come in and basically buy up corporate America. Now, this financial system that we're under right now does have a lot of negative consequences. Now, for some people, it actually is a very good system. And if you're in the top 10%, typically you're doing very well. If you're the top 1%, you're doing even better. This benefits you. But for the rest of us, the bottom 90%, it typically does not benefit you. Yes, there are still a few people in the bottom 90% that are doing very well for themselves and that are not feeling the impact of the latest round of economic devastation. The poor continue to get further in debt or more broke. And one area to look at is the homelessness numbers. Now, some people will tell you that every one of these homeless people has mental issues. They can't function in society. They're all substance abusers, right? And that's simply not true. I'm sure many of them are. Absolutely. I've seen them around the neighborhood. Many of them are completely lost their marbles. But when homelessness surges 20% in 1 year, you're telling me that many people became crazy in the last year? And what we're talking about here is in Southern California. Let's take a look at an article. And this is out of Community News. A recent report here, nearly 1/5 increase in homelessness in San Bernardino County. That's here in Southern California. And I haven't seen a larger report detailing nationwide or the entire state, but nearly a 20% increase in San Bernardino compared to 1 year ago, which was April 2019. Now, who knows? Maybe when we get some data on areas that are even more expensive, maybe homelessness will be even worse. But when you look at hundreds of people and sometimes even thousands of people additional becoming homeless, we know that it's a lot more than just thousands of people went crazy just in the past year, right? There's an economic impact here that's affecting a lot of people. And think about all of the mortgages right now that are in forbearance. We have 3 million people, either one, they can't pay, or two, choosing not to pay their mortgage just after being out of work for 4 or 5 weeks now since the lockdown. The homeless problem could be many more millions of people if it were not for banks giving these forbearances and all of the government intervention and assistance that they are attempting to give to the population. So it's likely that millions of people now only have a roof over their head because of the bank or because of the government is holding out a helping hand, so to speak. Now, many wouldn't call it a helping hand because it's the quote-unquote helping hand that has got us into this mess in the first place. It is the government intervention in the markets that has caused the inflation and the skyrocketing prices. Think about everything that the government gets involved in. You end up seeing rising prices. You see, when you guarantee loans, then banks are going to lend out knowing that there's that government backstop. So think about all the students that are not paying their loans, but yet we never see the cost of education drop. It's always increasing. Well, there's no incentive to lower the cost of education for colleges and for universities because they know the government's always going to give out these loans and back these loans. So when you have guaranteed buyers, you're always going to see rising prices. So when people can take on debt in order to purchase or in order to buy goods or services, including education, well, that creates artificial demand. Now, on the other hand, it's real demand because prices are rising because of it, but it's only the endless monopoly money that makes this possible. So now we have millions of people begging for a helping hand from the same helping hand that got us into this mess, the government and the Fed. And here's the joke. The U.S. working class is supposed to pay for all this spending via taxation. Well, the sad truth is many people are on the verge of homelessness, millions of people possibly, but yet we're the ones that are supposed to pay for this endless stimulus and the monopoly money that's created out of Washington and the Fed. And when hard times hit, when people get behind on their payments and lose their jobs, then they go crawling to the creators of this endless currency, and it's a very inefficient system. So look at all the people that are not getting their unemployment checks. Some people now have been waiting for over a month and still no unemployment check, even though technically they do qualify. Now, we talked about in a recent report how a lot of the websites were crashing because so many people had to file unemployment. And yes, we know it's the sickness outbreak and the shutdown that actually bursted this bubble. But regardless of how we got here, look at all the trouble that so many people are in. And here's just one story out of many thousands of other stories just like this. He filed for unemployment 37 days ago and still hasn't received any benefits. How much longer will he have to wait? And here's a quick excerpt out of this article from this person right here. Quote, "Today alone, I've called multiple Department of Labor numbers over 200 times. It's frustrating and I feel like I'm powerless despite tens of thousands of dollars in taxes that I've paid," unquote. And many people are asking, this is what I've been paying for. This is why a portion of my paycheck goes to the government each month, is to pay for this absolute failure of a system. Now let's go ahead and wrap it up right here. This is the current debt is impossible to ever repay. So the theory goes, and this is one of the wackiest theories out there, why anyone ever even subscribes to this notion blows my mind, but we're supposed to pay off this debt here now, 24 trillion 600 billion and counting. Through a portion of our paycheck, we're supposed to go ahead and pay that off. Now wait, it gets funny. Let's go down here to unfunded liabilities. And these are future promises, pension, Social Security, all those government handouts. $144 trillion, $625 billion, $816 million and counting. Everybody together, let's laugh. So you tell me, is there really people out there that think this is somehow a functional system that's not ultimately going to collapse and leave massive destruction in the wake. Yes, sadly, there are many people out there that believe this is a system that somehow is sustainable. There's also people that believe WWE wrestling is real. They believe that the politicians love us and they have our best interest. And this is all happening in the nation where we tell our kids that there's a big fat guy in a red suit that's going to come deliver presents December of every year. And this is a nation where we have many people that graduate with sometimes $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 in student loan debt, but yet they still don't learn that this is an unsustainable system, and that the system is also steering everyone towards mass carnage and poverty, well, except for the top 1%. But thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know what you think down in the comments about these numbers, about so many people having their heads in the clouds and how this thing is really going to unfold. The failure for the unemployed people, the 20% surge in homelessness in one county here in Southern California. Thank you so much to everyone for watching, for being here, for supporting this channel, and by leaving your comments. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now. I am very happy to say that we are sponsored by Boxable Homes. These are high quality, movable, low cost homes. They are factory built, made right here in the USA in northern Las Vegas. These units will include full-size appliances, including full-size refrigerator and washer and dryer, and prices fully loaded start at only $49,500. These homes even caught the eye of HUD Secretary Ben Carson. As homelessness continues to increase and affordable housing is becoming more and more of a problem, they can be shipped internationally, including anywhere in the USA. These homes are going to be a game changer for affordable housing. Please check the link below in description and take a look at these amazing homes for yourself.